On KBLA Talk 1580. This has been a fairly extraordinary day in the history of the United States and the history of the African American experience. And so, gathering all of the information that would make our show absolutely worthwhile is a task that we engaged in the last few moments. I just want to say that if you listened or heard the conservative justices on the United States Supreme Court, it's clear they are poised to weaken the Voting Rights Act of 1965. They are clearly poised to offer a precedent-setting case that will reach far beyond African American political representation in the Congress of the United States, in state legislatures of the United States, in city councils in the United States, because of their skepticism about the idea of using race-specific remedies as a remedy to the ongoing system of white supremacy and racial injustice in the United States. I can think in this hour of no one better than the biblical scholar Aubrey Hendricks, who has warned us in both his books, Christians Against Christianity, as well as his book, his outstanding book, The Politics of Jesus, to be our very special guest in this hour. Dr. Hendrick, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, brother. Always good to be with you. Always good to be with you, my brother.
It's one of those moments in American history, and certainly in the history of the African diaspora, when one considers, Dr. Hendricks, the brief age of the American experiment. And that's exactly what it is, but an experiment. From the inception of time itself to this moment where we have these ideas of freedom, these ideas of emancipation, these ideas of free speech, these ideas of equality, where someone pumps the brakes. They essentially decide as a majority population that they've simply had enough, that the idea of what happened in the past does not bear any responsibility to their present or to the future. And all of that really, really smells of the end of Second Reconstruction. And as you and I know, without legal protections, both federal and state, Second Reconstruction will come to an end just like First Reconstruction came to an end. And that, of course, is the advent of some form of a new kind of Jim Crow. Dr. Hendricks, your thoughts, your reflections over the course of our history about what this moment means in time.
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind is that this is why it's so important to have people like you back in the Congress, you and your brother and others who are clearly thinking and who are really freedom fighters at your core, because, I came across a movie today called The North Star. It's an old movie about Ukrainian uprising against the Russians and against the Nazis. And it occurred to me that, we are on the road, that our leadership today has put us on the road, purposely on the road, to another civil war. The divisive language, the demonizing language, calling those who oppose MAGA and Trump, calling us hateful and traitors to the country and vermin and all of that. And Trump saying at the racist Charlie Kirk's funeral that he didn't want to forgive, he did not want to ameliorate, he did not want to bring the country together. It's clear that they want to bring us to a point of pure chaos where we can lose the few rights that we have left. And we know that white supremacy has shot through the veins of the American experience from the beginning, and we can't forget that. And so the fact that all he needed was one sick piece of trash like Trump to stand up and give voice to the worst of white supremacy, for the whole Pandora's box of white supremacist hatred and racism to be opened yet again, the one we thought was closed forever, shows that it's right at the surface. It's not even at the surface anymore. It has erupted. So I think, brother, your reading of it is absolutely correct. This is the most dangerous moment that we have been in for, I don't know, over half a century in this country. And we have to stand up and be aware of it and fight against it with all our lives, because we don't know what this country will be like for our children in 10 years if we don't.
I mean, I wish without water in my eyes to um, try my best to interpret the gravity of the moment, but I simply can't. Uh, First of all, let me be clear: there is no other experiment in human history quite like the American experiment. If we were trying to fight for racial justice in China or fight for equality in Russia, or fight for liberation in almost any European country, uh, the mountain that we would have to climb would be so high and nearly impossible to navigate. But the American experiment, because, as Malcolm said, we were here before Plymouth Rock. We were here, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, before the Declaration of Independence. So much of the evolution, Dr. Hendricks, of America itself is the African American story. We are. I love how Reverend Jackson, and there are those who disagree, coined the phrase that we are a hybrid of two cultures, a synthesis of two worlds. We are not all American. We are not all African. We're African American. And when we go to Africa, we can't wait to get back home. And when we when we're home, some of us can't wait but long for a different continent in Africa, only until we go there and find out that the comforts that we've experienced here are not quite the same. And so we are unique in human history, but we're also unique in human history in an experiment that is clearly heading in the direction of the denial of our basic citizenship rights.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also denial of our humanity. I mean, our basic humanity. I mean, that's the horror of it. The rhetoric that we're hearing, it's like we are just vermin in this country. That we're just problematic to this country, and if we are put in our place and or destroyed, that America would be great again. And that's what makes it so very, very, so very, very dangerous, because you're right, we're caught between. And by the way, I remember when your father coined that phrase, African American. I remember that it was quite important. But we're betwixt and between. Never before in my life have I really seriously thought about leaving this country. I think seriously about it now. And I've been to Africa, a number of the countries, but I'll tell you the truth. Even though they don't have the kinds of amenities that we're used to, some of those African countries are looking very, very, very attractive right now, because
They certainly are.
what we're now faced with there is a denial of our humanity, to the point that the powers that be want to destroy us. Right. So look what they're doing with these ICE folk. It's like they're getting the lowest of the low, who are brutal and who are so happy to have a uniform and a mask so they can beat up Negroes, because that's what they're doing. I mean, they're treating us extremely inhumanely, which is a precursor, I think, to Trump and the MAGA people. Well, Trump trying to put together his own paramilitary force, his own military force, his own guard, to do his bidding. So we're betwixt and between, brother. It's like, what do we do here? And we know that we have to resist. The question is, what is the most efficacious, efficient way to resist? And I think that there is no one way. We have to do it on all kinds of levels. So we need folk like you to fight in the halls of Congress and to lift up, let us know what they're trying to do in the back rooms to us. But we need folk in the street too. We need freedom fighters in the street. We need folk I hate to say it, but we need folk again who are willing to put their lives on the line again, like we did back in the day during the cultural nationalist movement, the civil rights movement.
If it were Howard Thurman and Jesus and the Disinherited, which for those of us, Dr. Thurman's classic and historic work
Oh
helped
yes,
shape our theology, our Christology, and our vision of liberation theology.
yeah,
It is certainly Dr. Aubrey Hendricks who raises the practical questions in our time, in our space, in our present as to what we should do. And in this moment, Dr. Hendricks, I think of the question raised by the great preacher Charles Spurgeon: what would Jesus do? You're the author of The Politics of Jesus, a concept that for those of us who on Sunday mornings wake up every Sunday morning to go the divine word and to try and reflect and even commune with the divine, we often separate that experience from the politics of the nowness of the moment,
yeah,
asking the moral questions in the present and the actions that we should take that could very well end up land us on a cross somewhere. Dr. Hendricks, in this moment, what would what would Jesus do, and what would the politics of Jesus look
yeah.
like in this
Well,
moment?
I mean, it's a good point, but we know what Jesus did in the face of the oppressive powers that be. I mean, we know that after he came out of the desert in Luke 4 and preparing himself spiritually to wage resistance, that's he said, the spirit of the Lord is upon me, not so I can jump and shout and have fun and call it church and all those kinds of things. He said, spirits upon me, anointed me to preach good news to the poor, which is really preaching a systematic change, changing the systems that are pressing the people. Then we also have him, well, he just had it when he went into the temple and said, "Look, you brood of vipers, I'm tired of this. I have to make a demonstration to the people to show how wrong they are." Remember in how he cleansed, they call the so-called cleansing the temple. He went through. John said with a knotted rope. The other said with a big stick, and he went through and he he knocked over the money changers and he ran people out of the temple. He demonstrated that we're tired of this and that we're going to resist. So I think that what Jesus would do, he would have us, he would be involved in the resistance right now. And one of the important things he'd be doing is what we saw him do in the Gospels, going around raising people's consciousness so they'll know what they're faced with, which is what we're not seeing going on in the church largely these days. These preachers aren't telling folk, look, you got to get out in the street, in the body politic, and fight for your lives. No. They're not changing what the people do. They just change the way they feel. Jesus would be out raising folks' consciousness. He'd be confronting the powers that be. He would be uncompromising. He would be courageous about it. And I think we have to hold our churches and particularly our religious leaders, we have to hold them responsible. They need to get their shoes dirty. A lot of these preachers don't get their shoes dirty. You don't see them out doing anything. The church has the gospel imperative is to love our neighbors as ourselves, which means that we have to struggle for our neighbors to have the same freedoms, the same access to liberty, to material goods, to riches, to opportunities, the same access as we want for ourselves. But it means more than that, because we struggle to have those things for ourselves and our own families. It means that the gospel imperative is to get out and struggle for the common good. That's what Jesus would be doing. And he wouldn't just be ensconcing himself in institutional maintenance in some church somewhere. He would be out fighting for the people, leading the people in resistance to what's going on now. And we're not seeing that go on the 99.9% of the places that claim that they're holding up his bloodstained banner.
I want to add this because we have about 5 minutes before our break, and I want to leave uh, Reverend Dr. Hendricks, an opportunity, even before we get to the 30, the hard stop at the 30, to respond to this. And of course, he'll be with us for the remainder of the hour. I'm thinking about Jim Crow. I'm thinking about that period of unprecedented violence against African Americans. I'm thinking about, Daddy King and all of the religious leaders and national Black leaders who were loyal to the party of Lincoln because of what Lincoln did. But of course, Dr. Hendricks, that transition from the economic programs of Roosevelt that were obviously more appealing, that weren't designed for African Americans, but overwhelmingly went to the heart of some of the economic problems in the Black community. And then we became loyal to Democrats. But I see, in reaction to the behavior of Donald Trump, Democrats now fighting more for Democrats than they're fighting for the Voting Rights Act or John Lewis. And so you may end up with a Democratic Congress that's 50-50 with the Republicans. You may end up edging out the Republicans by a few short seats, but there may be no Negroes left in Congress.
Wow.
They may end up with white moderates who vote for Charlie Kirk's resolution, who, sing the praises of John Lewis, sing the praises of our civil rights hymns, if you will, and church hymns. They come to our churches on Sunday mornings because they're Democrats, but in their hearts, they have a problem with the way in which he lost his life, but they weren't very vocal with the things he said about us. Dr. Hendricks, we have about 3 minutes before.
When you say he, who are you speaking of?
Well, I mean, he, as in it's one thing for us to understand that this is about Black folk. It's easy for Democrats to say that we need majorities, but they're not saying we need majorities and we must protect the Voting Rights Act. They are abandoning the Voting Rights Act in California, in Illinois, in New York, in the name of Democrats. And they don't care if the Democrats that come forward are moderate. So we lose the Black Democrat. We lose Jasmine Crockett. We lose Al Green. We lose, our major Maxine Waters. We lose our major voices, but we just get a Democrat. A Democrat who is always straddling the fence between the right wing and between what we know to be right and to be true.
Well, you're right. And that's because we have this deficit in political consciousness. Our people don't really have a low political consciousness quotient, which has to do with the leadership. If the folk know
I think we have a frozen moment with Dr. Aubrey Hendricks.
Are not the Democratic Party is not the panacea. They're not, justice is what we have to fight for, not for Democrats. We have to fight for justice. We have to ask the question, what is the just thing? What represents our interest best? Who represents our interest best? But right now, a lot of people vote for Democrats. Sort of, it's a knee-jerk response. But because we're not telling our people the truth, and we're not holding up how deeply white supremacy runs through the veins of this society, we're fighting a demonic force and an antichrist force that will destroy us if we don't fight back. And so our people have to realize that and start supporting our folks who can only understand. We're the only people who can understand what our concerns and what our issues really are.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Dr. Aubrey Hendricks. His mind, his thinking, his thoughts at this hour matter to the future of the Negro in America.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Supreme Court is hearing a case that could impact black voter representation nationwide.
If struck down, Louisiana could lose its 2 majority black congressional districts, silencing black voters' voices in Washington.
Louisiana's new map adds a second majority black district, but the state's attorney general says the Voting Rights Act's ban on racial discrimination in redistricting is unconstitutional. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams may endorse Andrew Cuomo for mayor. Adams says he's still deciding who to back, but made it clear he does not want frontrunners Aran Mamdani in office. And the world is continuing to mourn R&B legend D'Angelo, who passed away Tuesday at 51 after a battle with cancer. A pioneer of neo-soul, he had 2 albums named among Rolling Stone's best ever. Stars like John Legend, Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Hudson, Maxwell, and Jill Scott praised his genius and lasting impact on music. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Escape the confines of the city for the expansive beauty of the Santa Ynez Valley with a short 2-hour drive up the coast. Let Chumash Casino Resort be your destination getaway. Welcome to freedom. Go to chumashcasino.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are coming home with a 2-0 lead in the National League Championship Series. They beat Milwaukee 5-1 Tuesday night. Another spectacular pitching performance for the Dodgers. This time it was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto delivered the first complete game in the Major League postseason since 2017. In 9 innings, he allowed only 3 hits and had 7 strikeouts. Milwaukee has scored only 2 runs combined in the first 2 games. Game 3 is Thursday afternoon at Dodger Stadium. First pitch at 3 o'clock. Major props to Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank. Blank's foundation announced a plan to provide $50 million in scholarships over the next 10 years to the 4 HBCU schools in Atlanta: Morehouse, Clark, Morris Brown, and Spelman. Blank became an NFL owner in 2002 when he bought the Falcons for $545 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis Smiley with a final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for Black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing. Racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County. Committee for the First Amendment and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is a lifelong activist. Dr. Aubrey Hendricks is one of the foremost commentators on intersection of religion and political economy in America. He's the most widely read and perhaps the most influential African-American biblical scholar writing today. Cornel West calls him one of the last few grand prophetic intellectuals. A widely sought-after lecturer and media spokesperson, Dr. Hendricks' appearance includes CNN, MSNBC, CBS, Fox News, Fox Business News, the Discovery Channel, PBS, BBC, NHK Japan Television, and the Bloomberg Network. He has provided running events, commentary for National Public Radio, MSNBC, and Al Jazeera, and Aspire International Television Networks. Dr. Hendricks has been a member of the Faith Advisory Council of the Democratic National Committee, for whom he delivered the closing benediction at the 2008 Democratic Convention, served on the National Religious Leaders Advisory Committee of the 2008 Democratic National Campaign, and served in the Religion and Foreign Policy Working Group at the U.S. Department of State under Secretaries Hillary Clinton and John Kerry. Dr. Hendricks, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Yes, sir. Okay, so glad to be with you, brother, always.
Dr. Hendricks, let me ask you the question that is always on my mind in moments like these. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? You shocked me when you raised the question of their desire for civil war.
Yeah.
So, chaos or community? Dr. Hendricks?
Well, Trump's a fascist. That's been obvious for a while. I mean, he's even in his first term, he said that he wanted his people to listen and follow and obey like Kim Jong-un's people do in North Korea. And fascism needs chaos. Fascists need to they need to show that government cannot work. They need to dismantle all the protections and the support of government and say that it doesn't work. So there's a need. So what is needed is a dictator, some authoritarian figure to bring everything together. And so Trump is trying to, you see, he's fomenting chaos. Every day is fomenting chaos. I mean, he's removing all the folk who have any kind of sense of democracy and replacing them with miscreants and sycophants who just want to kiss up to him and do what he says. He wants chaos. Of course, we want to fight for community, but we have to really define what community means to us, you know, and that means that it's important for us to articulate a vision and a mobilizing standard by which we move. Now, the MAGA right wing came up with Project 2025. That's their vision. And I give them credit. It's an evil vision, but it is a comprehensive vision. We need to come up with something like that, but we need an animating principle, and the gospel gives us that. This greatest social commandment, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. I said that earlier. It means that we have to fight for the common good, and that means that we have to coalesce as a community and realize that everybody has the right to be all right, and stop demonizing each other. Stop excluding folk because they're gay or they're trans or they're Muslim or something like that. We have to lay that aside because our existence, our survival depends upon community. But the other thing, and this is so very important, it's something that I really admire about the Reverend Jesse Jackson, is that justice has to be the animating principle. What is just? We have to look at that. The other side doesn't do it. The only thing that can really bring us together is to say we want to fight to love our neighbor as ourselves and to work for justice. And that has to be our animating principle. That's the only thing I think that will help us come together and stand against the chaos. But as it stands now, chaos is winning. Why? Because we're not fighting back the way that we should. That's why I'm so disgusted with our so-called leaders, and particularly our religious leaders. They're fiddling while Rome is burning. Our people are suffering. Every day it's getting worse. And what are we seeing? What are we seeing? We're seeing the churches and denominations with millions of dollars, resources, people enthralled every Sunday. And what are they doing with it? Nothing but standing by and watching our people be ground into the dust. The biblical prophets wailed about that, about our people being ground in the dust, but we're not listening at all in this moment. And that's why our people are being oppressed. Our cities are being crushed. Folk are being jailed who have done nothing, who are citizens, because we are allowing it. And we have to stop if we want to survive, have a decent survival as a people in this country.
You know, Dr. Hendricks, I think that there are, with the final 2.5 minutes or so that we have before the break, there are two events in my research that have the power to divide time and space. It is hard to imagine your work, the life of Jesus of Nazareth, and the world before Jesus of Nazareth came into the world with his precepts. We've been living in his precepts in some way, shape, form for the last 2,025 years.
True.
But what makes Jesus of Nazareth so unique is his life divides the last 2,025 years from the millions of years before he came. And the 2,025 years is towards civilization. I think we can conclude that. Towards love, towards community, towards understanding enemies or detractors or frenemies. It's towards something, but we need his life to divide time.
Yeah.
I see the Constitution of the United States as a time divider, right? On one side of the 13th Amendment, before the 13th Amendment, there's a slave society. And on the other side, you and I have First Amendment rights, citizenship rights. It just divides it. It's hard to imagine slavery. We talk about it all day, every day, but we ain't never lived it.
No.
Our ancestors knew it, but we don't know it, right? We can imagine a world with citizenships, right? We can't imagine a world without citizenship rights because the 14th Amendment divides time. So the experiment, each amendment divides time. So I try to find a reason for all Americans, regardless of their race, sex, or class, to believe in the Constitution. All citizens should enjoy the right to health care of equal high quality. Put it in the Constitution.
Yeah.
So when we're denied it, we can go to our rights and say, no, you got to give me my cancer treatment. You got to help me with my dialysis. You've got to deal with this cleft lip. You've got to deal with these bad feet. Put it in the Constitution. Divide the old society that didn't care about my health from the new society that does.
Yeah, but let's face it, the Constitution never really had us in mind, and when we have the capitalists and the oligarchs running things, it's just not in their interest, right? To for folk to have universal health care and universal basic income and all of that. They're going to fight against. So I'm wondering if I don't see another answer to the problem, but I'm wondering if the Constitution is the answer either.
Doc.
But I guess the best way to do it is
Doc, our
best bet is the Constitution.
I got to take this break. The last 10 minutes are definitely going to be yours. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, Dr. Aubrey Hendricks is going to bring us out to the top of the hour.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Open enrollment is your opportunity to choose a plan that connects you to Providence's comprehensive healthcare network. Choose a plan that includes Providence and gain access to a dedicated team of highly trained primary care physicians and specialists. From nationally recognized doctors and hospitals, Providence ensures quality care is always within reach. When you choose Providence, you choose after-hours care through our nurse advice line, urgent care, or virtual express care. You choose 24/7 access through the Providence mobile app to message providers, request prescription refills, schedule appointments, check lab results, and more. This open enrollment, prioritize your well-being with the peace of mind that comes from choosing a provider that values excellence and compassionate care. Don't just choose a plan. Choose a plan dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Choose a plan that believes health is a human right. Choose a plan that delivers exceptional care and cares about your community. Choose a plan that offers Providence. Visit chooseprovidence.org to learn more. JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever-changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. I mean, mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Wealthy Wednesdays, where we discuss the politics of our faith with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, who's our very special contributor in the next hour on the Jesse Jackson Show. But in this hour, we are particularly blessed with none other than quite possibly the most thoughtful biblical scholar in the United States. At this hour, certainly in the tradition of Howard Thurman and Martin Luther King Jr. and Ferrer and others who have given serious thought to the plight of Black people, their minds, their thinking, their spirituality, none other than the great Dr. Aubrey Hendricks. Dr. Hendricks, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
Dr. Hendricks, you have no idea how difficult it is for me on these breaks. I'm going to send you these breaks when the show is over because, man, I want Tavis to know that, man, when I cut Dr. Aubrey Hendricks off, man, I feel like I've just shut down God, man.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to get punished for this.
Brother, you asked such great questions, and I was thinking about it on the break, and a couple things come to mind. First, Dr. King, Dr. King stressed the depth of importance of democracy and forcing the government to live up to its creed, to the Constitution. And what also comes to mind, as you know, I'm a great admirer of your father, and I wrote a piece a month or two ago in the Substack, what Jesse Jackson means to me. And what I recalled was when he bogarted the mic from Ronald Reagan in the Rose Garden, when he didn't want to let your father speak after your father.
I was there. I saw that.
Who brought Goodman home, and he just walked up and bogarted the mic. So what came to mind was, we have to. Our only end really is, through the power of the government to make the government do what it's supposed to do. But the only way we can do that is to bogart our way in. It's not going to be an easy thing. They're going to put roadblocks everywhere. We have to bogart it in. That's why, like the No Kings demonstrations this weekend, these kinds of things have to continue on. We have to bogart, and we have to start exposing the depth of racism of these people. Like they show how deeply racist these young Republicans are, calling us names and saying that people should be killed and all that. So we're gonna have to really stand up and fight and do like Jesus did when he cleansed the temple. Stand up in the middle of it and make it and expose these people and make them like Dr. King said, to live up to the dictates and the morality of their creed. That's what I think. That's the only way, and it has to be done constitutionally. I think you're right. I don't see any of there's not going to be some revolution like we talked about in the 60s. That's not going to happen.
Dr. Hendricks, it's interesting to me that Dr. King made a direct appeal to conscience.
Yes.
But
I don't know about the conscience of these people.
That's what I'm trying to get to. What is the appeal that those of us in the King tradition should make, Dr. Hendricks? I mean, they don't listen.
But it's a different time now. So I think that the only thing they're going to respond to is interests, is their own interests. And we just have to stand up and show that some kind of way that is untenable for them to continue on as they're continuing on. One of the reasons that Dr. King, I think the main reason he was killed when he was killed was because the Poor People's Campaign was going to mobilize, folk from all over the country coming into Washington to shut down the government until the government started doing what it's supposed to do. And we're going to have to engage in radical stuff like that, a national strike, national strikes of different industries. We need to shut the country down like King wanted to shut Washington down. That's the only way they're going to listen, because they don't have any conscience. I think Stephen Miller has a conscience. He's one of the most evil people walking the earth. Those MAGA people have no conscience. They know they're lying. So we just have to make it in their interest to stop all this mess, tie their hands, and that's the only thing that we can do. And the only way we can do it is through radical action. And it's going to take. Dr. King was even willing to get involved in subversion, nonviolent subversion. We're going to have to start doing those kinds of things, and that's dangerous. But we're going to have to start showing these folk that we're not going to stand for it. If they're not going to live comfortable lives if we're not living comfortable lives.
Dr. Hendricks, as you prepare for your final word of hope, the final 3 minutes of our program, I just want to say this. I was watching Abby Phillips last night. Abby Phillips on CNN at 2 o'clock in the morning. And she's got this show where, it's like a free-for-all between the right and the left. And as a proxy, if you will, or an avatar for our spirit energy and Black people, I'm watching her try to navigate, the untruth and the fact from the fiction between both sides. And in this moment last night, I saw her just simply overwhelmed by like losing control of her show, to the point that she was overwhelmed. And that's how I feel. And I'm not on the show. I feel like an African American who's overwhelmed by the conversation that's taking place on both sides. No one is listening to us. Janae Nelson presented her case and our case before the Supreme Court. The court's mind is already made up on the Voting Rights Act. The precedence, as you can imagine, is far more reaching than just the Voting Rights Act itself. Yeah. They're using this moment to say Black consideration or consideration for racial justice in anything ought be a thing of the past and illegal, from college admissions to appointments to boards to ideas of diversity, equity, and inclusion. There is this moment, Dr. Hendricks, with 2 final minutes left in our program, there is this moment that the people themselves are without hope. Can you offer us a word of hope, Dr. Hendricks?
Well, I think what gives me hope is that we have a generation coming up now who has been forced to see the ugliness of the situation. Their political consciousness has been shaped by seeing the contradictions and the hatred. One thing that we have to, that if there's a silver lining to the cloud of Trump, is that he's made clear what the stakes are, and that he's shown that these people are liars and they're hateful, and young people are seeing that. And that's the only thing that really gives me hope, because you mentioned Abby Phillips, you have Scott Jennings on that show. He just lies and lies and pushes back. He represents this, who the MAGA people are. But you have the Abby Phillips, you have young people out here, and that's the only thing that gives me hope. These young people are disgusted, but their political consciousness is being raised every day because they see the ugliness and they see their future being elided, and they're not standing for it. And also, what gives me hope is that evil can't reign forever. Evil always has the seeds of its own destruction in it. I don't know what we'll see in our lifetime. I hope we see something, but it's just Trump is too wrong. MAGA is too wrong to exist for too long.
Dr. Hendrick, thank you for being on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. I love this picture of your father. That's what I'm talking about. When he spoke like from Ronald Reagan, man, I hit the ceiling.
You know, you're always welcome. I can't wait for you to return. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. S. Todd Yeary when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Supreme Court is hearing a case that could impact black voter representation nationwide.
If struck down, Louisiana could lose its 2 majority black congressional districts, silencing black voters' voices in Washington.
Louisiana's new map adds a second majority black district, but the state's attorney general says the Voting Rights Act's ban on racial discrimination in redistricting is unconstitutional. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams may endorse Andrew Cuomo for mayor. Adams says he's still deciding who to back, but made it clear he does not want frontrunners Aran Mamdani in office. And the world is continuing to mourn R&B legend D'Angelo, who passed away Tuesday at 51 after a battle with cancer. A pioneer of neo-soul, he had 2 albums named among Rolling Stone's best ever. Stars like John Legend, Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Hudson, Maxwell, and Jill Scott praised his genius and lasting impact on music. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Escape the confines of the city for the expansive beauty of the Santa Ynez Valley with a short 2-hour drive up the coast. Let Chumash Casino Resort be your destination getaway. Welcome to freedom. Go to chumashcasino.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are coming home with a 2-0 lead in the National League Championship Series. They beat Milwaukee 5-1 Tuesday night. Another spectacular pitching performance for the Dodgers. This time it was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto delivered the first complete game in the Major League postseason since 2017. In 9 innings, he allowed only 3 hits and had 7 strikeouts. Milwaukee has scored only 2 runs combined in the first 2 games. Game 3 is Thursday afternoon at Dodger Stadium. First pitch at 3 o'clock. Major props to Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank. Blank's foundation announced a plan to provide $50 million in scholarships over the next 10 years to the 4 HBCU schools in Atlanta: Morehouse, Clark, Morris Brown, and Spelman. Blank became an NFL owner in 2002 when he bought the Falcons for $545 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis Smiley with a final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing, racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County, Committee for the First Amendment, and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in the previous hour was none other than the eminent and preeminent biblical scholar, Dr. Aubrey Hendricks. Dr. Hendricks is the author of a number of books, including The Universe Bends Towards Justice, The Politics of Jesus, Christians Against Christianity, and Living Water. Dr. Hendricks is hanging around with us for another minute, and I can't blame him for that because he knows I'm feeling some kind of way in the spirit about what's going on in our nation and in our world.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just grateful that he's here with me. Dr. Hendricks, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You're live on KBLA Talk 1580 and the drive time traffic up and down every conceivable highway in Los Angeles is listening to us right now.
I'm always glad to be with you, brother. Always.
Dr. Hendricks, let me ask you a question because I am feeling some kind of way. It seems to me that I feel like I'm trying and struggling, and I don't know if the average person in our shoes is actually feeling the same way that I'm feeling. But a lot of things come together in my life of Jesse Jackson, the legacy that it all represents, the life of social justice and social activism. Dr. Hendricks, in this moment, a lot of social justice activists are feeling some type of way. Now, I want to separate us from the politics and or from the policies that we should be standing for to our own self-care. How do we care for ourselves in this moment? How do we recharge our batteries? How do we move forward in this fight? And how, based on your research, have others who've undertaken leadership in these fights recharged their batteries?
Wow, such a good question. I think there are two ways I would answer that. One is, as I've told you before, I grew up in the Black Cultural Nationalist movement in Newark, New Jersey, under Mayor Baraka, and we had what we call soul session every Sunday night, where the whole community came together to celebrate ourselves, to recharge, to recommit. That was so very important, so strengthening. And then, as a biblical scholar, I look at Luke 4, beginning with the first verse, how Jesus went out into the desert and he prepared himself through spiritual ministrations, fasting and solitude and silence and self-abnegation and all of that. So very, very important. But after he went through that, then that's when he stood up in the 18th verse and said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he's anointed me," which means made me Messiah, "to bring good news to the poor," systemic change to the poor and the suffering. So, that's so there are two ways I'm answering it. One is that we have to recharge ourselves spiritually, individually, but also in community, and come together in community that is dedicated to the struggle. And I'm not just talking about church, because church unfortunately doesn't do that too often. We get involved in Paul and individual salvation and all that, and we forget about the resistance imperative of the gospel. Personal, individual, spiritual ministration, and then coming together in community to strengthen one another. I think that is the way we recharge and strengthen ourselves for the struggle.
Dr. Hendricks, can you share with us more about your work with Mayor Baraka and I believe his father as well?
Well, Mayor Baraka, I remember when Ras Baraka was born. I was young. I was a teenager. I met Mayor Baraka when I was 15. Joined his organization, and Mary Baraka was, my first intellectual influence. Mary Baraka, and he exemplified so many of the things that were inspiring to us. First off, he was really genuinely fearless, totally dedicated to the struggle, but also dedicated to the life of the mind. And so I started reading things. I mean, as a youth, that most people only read later. I mean, I was reading spiritual stuff like the Tao Te King and the Egyptian Book of the Dead, but I was reading Amilcar Cabral, stuff like that. So Baraka, and I watched Baraka never let anything go by him, even if it meant he was going to get hurt. If he saw an injustice in the community that needed to be addressed, an issue that needed to be addressed, he would stand up and address it, even if it meant that, even if it was against his own interest. And so he's was a very important influence in my life.
I just want to add this, that we're being joined now by Dr. S. Todd Yeary, who every Wednesday makes our Wednesdays more wealthy. Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. S. Todd Yeary. He has both one foot in the pulpit and one foot in a courtroom. He's also a lawyer fighting for justice, fighting criminal, as well as civil defense cases, and is a biblical scholar, a theologian in his own right. But I'm so grateful that Dr. Aubrey Hendricks, really the Don Corleone of Black theology in this hour, the godfather of Black theology in this hour, that Dr. Todd Yeary could join us in this moment. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hey, Todd, my man.
It's a setup. It's a setup. I didn't see it coming.
I'll make you offer you can't refuse, brother.
Listen, I got to go to a break, but Dr. Hendricks, stay with us just for a moment, because I'd like to give at least Todd a few moments to converse with you. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you. Yes.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2025, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-260-3330. That's 800-260-3330. Find out if you qualify today, 800-260-3330, or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Hello, KBLA listeners. This is Dr. Paul Wallace. I want to discuss a type of eczema called atopic dermatitis, which is often misdiagnosed in Black children and adults. Atopic dermatitis is an autoimmune disorder that can be accompanied by food allergies, hay fever, and asthma. This rash targets the inner arms, behind the knees, and face, but can go all over the body. It causes excessive dryness and 24/7 itching. It's the scratching and steroid use that leads to permanent scarring. I'm enrolling patients in a new clinical research study focused on better treatment options for atopic dermatitis. Of course, your medication and travel reimbursements are provided. To see if you qualify, visit dermstudies.com or call us at 323-296-0048. That's 323-296-0048. There's nothing worse than itching. Let's take the next step in controlling this problem.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Wealthy Wednesdays, where we discuss the politics of our faith with none other than Dr. S. Todd Yeary, who has one foot in the pulpit. He is the pastor of the Douglas Memorial Church in Baltimore, Maryland, and one foot in the courtroom. He is a full-time practicing lawyer fighting for justice and individual cases that matter to his sense of morality and spirituality. But in this very special hour, we've both been blessed with none other than the preeminent biblical scholar in the African American tradition, and maybe even in the world tradition when one reflects upon the critique that Dr. Aubrey Hendricks offers to the scriptures themselves. The Politics of Jesus is a worldwide classic, and I don't know how much longer we can have Dr. Aubrey Hendricks with us. I'm going to be honest with him. He is hard to schedule, and when I catch him, I grab him and I keep him. But I certainly want Dr. Yeary to have this moment to engage with Dr. Hendricks.
It is good to see my brother again, and to be able to connect, especially in this time with all that's going on. When we think about the void that exists in not only the critique, but the challenging of the imperial motivations and tendencies of this administration, I think no one challenges our milquetoast use of the scriptures more than Aubrey Hendricks. And so this goes all the way back. We were actually able to spend some good time together and get to know each other on the last trip where your father negotiated the release of 2 dual U.S. citizens from a Gambian prison back in 2012, I think it was, right, Aubrey? So we were hanging out with your father, and found out that we had some of the same kind of radical tendencies. And then he went back to raise up another generation, and I had to come back to the concrete jungle to do what we do. But I am so grateful that he is still teaching and challenging and even correcting not just our theology, but our praxis, right? It's not just what we say on Sunday, it's what we do Monday through Saturday. And all of that is subject to some significant criticism because we seem to be accommodating what's going on in the spaces of public discourse as opposed to challenging them outright.
Yeah. Well, Todd, I got to see the depth of your radicality, man. If you were a prize fighter, you'd be fierce in the ring, brother, because you bring a sharpness and a dedication to the fight that I greatly admire.
Dr. Yeary, a question maybe from you to Dr. Hendricks?
It's going to sound maybe a little flip, but it's not. Doc, what's wrong with Black preaching today in the context of Donald Trump 2.0? What are we missing, or what have we abandoned in fulfilling our obligations?
Yeah. What's wrong? Damn, we don't have enough time. I think the models of ministry have gotten sort of skewed. As you know, we used to prize the model of the scholar pastor, right? And we loved to hear erudition. Growing up, the most erudite preachers, the ones who use their study to study rather than just to meet. We loved them. That was the model. But then when you got, and I don't blame him, but you get people like T.D. Jakes, who became a star and became rich. That sort of messed up the models. Folk wanted to be that. And then the word preachers came up. That was another model. And then, we had all these entertainers. And the problem is they're following the wrong models. And they're heavy on the pastoral, but they forget the prophetic, man. I think that's the real problem. The real problem is, I think, and this is going to sound strange, is sort of a relative ignorance of the gospel, man. Folk seem to know more about Paul than they know about what Jesus said in the gospel. And they don't understand the radicality of Jesus. Also, a lot of them don't realize that they're in a moment of post-Constantinian Christianity, which says that it's more important what you believe than what you do. Jesus, the faith of the oppressed was all about, Jesus taught all about what to do, how to act. He said very little about what to believe. He wasn't individualistic. And so I think that's the thing. Lost sight of the fact that we should be struggling for the common good of everybody instead of just our institutional maintenance, right? Our little fiefdoms, our denominational stuff. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And and I know you see it must hurt you to your heart, when you get in these settings and you see these preachers are more concerned with the outward things than they are with trying to change the world,
Dr. Hendricks, I heard Dr. John Wesley, I believe Howard.
Howard John
Wesley.
Howard John Wesley.
Okay, I'm going. There's some of us with 3 names just going to struggle with. But out of all due respect, Pastor Wesley, Dr. Howard, Pastor Wesley, please accept my apology. And I'm listening. I'm hearing Jamal, right? I mean, not just because they're on social media, but social media does bring what they're saying to the present. I'm hearing Freddie, Dr. Freddie Haynes, Dr. Hendricks. I'm hearing you, and believe me when I tell you, I have so much faith in Dr. S. Todd Yeary. I'm hearing you guys, but I'm wondering, is that enough to be pivotal to train and to change and direct those men and women who speak to our people more than CNN does? Jesse, why do you spend so much time with preachers on your show? Because they speak to more black folks than everybody else does every Sunday.
Wow, yeah.
And then they spend 52 weeks a year with them. And you don't. Well, on the bus and on your phone and on your text message talking garbage. They talk to more black folks than you do. That's why I spend so much time with preachers. Right. And if there's another group of people who speak to more black people than you, I'd be speaking to them too. But that's why I spend so much time with preachers. So is that enough? Is that the tradition we're talking about, Dr. Hendricks and Dr. Yeary? Let me start with Dr. Hendricks.
Is that the tradition we're talking about? I'm not sure.
Or is that enough? Is that enough? These brothers in the social space.
Oh, no, it's. I mean, it's necessary, but no, it's not enough because the ethos, because they're outliers. The ethos is wrong. Folk they forget about Luke 4. Luke 4:18. Spirit of the Lord is upon me, anointed me to bring good news to the poor. Substantive change. They forget about cleansing the temple. It's all about. It's so much of it's about feel good stuff and individual salvation and working on my own salvation and getting the spirit when they just talking about emotionality and having fun. So too often it's not about being freedom fighters. They don't realize that Jesus was a freedom fighter who died because he would not pump down, right? Right, Todd? I mean, he said, Pilate said, all right, I'll give you a chance. He said, no, here I stand because this is what I believe in. Our people have to be free. I mean, he fought. He was killed because he wouldn't back down to the most powerful empire the world has seen at that point. That is the model that we need to be following. And I don't know what model they're following other than James Brown sometimes, man. And they ain't doing it as well as James.
Dr. Yeary?
Yeah, I think what you raised though is the distinctions about how we communicate, right? The platforms that are used today are vastly different than the platforms we considered in kind of the traditional pulpit settings back when I was in seminary. And so I think what we've lost is understanding that the word performance is really about execution. How do you do what it is that you set out to do? And we've now made the performance of the preaching moment synonymous with entertainment as opposed to execution of an outcome, right? And so we'll get a shout on Sunday, but there'll be silence on Monday because we've not drawn that line that connects the dots that Dr. Hendricks is talking about between what we say and what we do. As we like to say in the vernacular, you can't just talk the talk, you got to be able to walk the walk. And social media is a part of it to reach a different generation that's communicating in ways where they're not coming into the walls of the church. But it should not change the overall commitment that our calling is to inspire for action. That's the genesis of how you get to the beginnings of a revolution. And there's a revolution that's needed in this moment. Let there be no doubt about it, because these folk ain't playing. They for real.
Dr. Hendricks, Dr. Yuri is in a different generation than you and I are in. Do you have some thoughts or a question of him in terms of the action they should be taking?
Well, first of all, I don't know that he's in a different generation.
listen.
I made myself older than Dr. Hendricks in that question. And Dr. Hendricks is my senior. And Todd and I are about the same age. So I just made Todd real young, and he got more work to do.
Well, Todd's so wise. I thought that he was older. Yeah, but yeah. Well, you know, that's an interesting question because what I see with Dr. Todd Yeary is a man who is sort of the antithesis of the average preacher today. I mean, he's well read, he's prepared, and he's concerned about policy. So I guess, brother, how widely do you see this happening in preachers today, and particularly preachers who are coming up?
I have stopped trying to quantify and trying to qualify. And here's what I mean. I'm not looking for a set number. I'm looking for critical mass. What is the mobilization necessary to get us past the proverbial tipping point, where once that momentum is with us, there's nothing that can stop the forward trajectory of our movement? And so when I'm in a room, I'm not necessarily trying to convert the entire room. That may not be possible. Sometimes I have to assess it, and there may not be enough time. But I'm trying to figure out where are the allies in the room so that we can keep building to that critical tipping point, that critical mass that allows then our actions to really have the force, the transformative force. Jesus changed the world with 12, not with a mega church.
Yeah. You know, that's a good point, and I do realize that, that's my experience and approach too. But I'm wondering, what do you see? My question still stands. What do you see coming up? I mean, what do you see happening out there?
I see a contrast. I see a disaffected next generation or next 2 or 3 generations who are so foreign to the essence of our story, right? There was a generation who came, who knew not, right? We have those generations who know not about our struggle, about how we got here. They're not even concerned to some degree because it's of no interest. And when they can sit in classes like yours, like mine when I was in the classroom, and say they've never experienced racism in America, it says that we've got such a warped understanding of how this works to the point where our work, what I see as a need to almost go back to the old Saturday school model. We've got to teach what they're not going to teach in schools. We've got to educate in ways that the educational system refuses. And we've got to make sure that we equip the next generation with a knowledge of self that allows them to have what Reverend Jackson often called an insult level sufficient to be incensed about the injustice that we see.
Dr. Hendricks?
Briefly, just briefly, preachers need to read and study, and young people need to study. Look, I teach a class at Columbia University this semester, a political introduction to the Christian scriptures. Only one black student in the class. I got a full seminar, almost 20 students, only one black student. We have to start raising again, the importance of critical thinking, and that is going to make a difference, I think, if we can do that.
Dr. Hendricks, thank you for your time and the time that you spent with us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Also glad to be with you, and it's what a pleasant surprise to be with Todd Yeary. Thank you both. It's been wonderful.
We're gonna hang out. I'm coming to New York. We're gonna figure it out.
Our show is yours anytime you want it to be, Dr. Hendricks. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more on Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. S. Todd Yeary.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Broward County, Florida high schoolers can now use cell phones during lunch. The school board approved the change in a close vote, despite Black Superintendent Dr. Howard Hepburn opposing it.
But during class changes and classroom instruction time, the current policy is still in effect.
The ban still applies to elementary and middle schools under state law. Los Angeles Police Department now has surveillance footage from Black singers David's Hollywood Hills rental that may show if Celeste Rivas was there before her death. TMZ reports the property owner says cameras captured everyone entering or leaving. And starting November 1st, the Black Information Network will expand by syndicating its all-news format to broadcasters beyond iHeartMedia. Launched in 2020, BIN is the first 24/7 national and local news network built for Black communities, now reaching millions of monthly listeners. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Escape the confines of the city for the expansive beauty of the Santa Ynez Valley with a short 2-hour drive up the coast. Let Chumash Casino Resort be your destination getaway. Welcome to freedom. Go to chumashcasino.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
How do you spend your audio time on smart speakers?
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
I'm Alexa.
Play KBLA Talk 1580.
Okay, let's play.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are coming home with a 2-0 lead in the National League Championship Series. They beat Milwaukee 5-1 Tuesday night. Another spectacular pitching performance for the Dodgers. This time it was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto delivered the first complete game in the Major League postseason since 2017. In 9 innings, he allowed only 3 hits and had 7 strikeouts. Milwaukee has scored only 2 runs combined in the first 2 games. Game 3 is Thursday afternoon at Dodger Stadium. First pitch at 3 o'clock. Major props to Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank. Blank's foundation announced a plan to provide $50 million in scholarships over the next 10 years to the 4 HBCU schools in Atlanta: Morehouse, Clark, Morris Brown, and Spelman. Blank became an NFL owner in 2002 when he bought the Falcons for $545 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Established in 2020 during a time of deep racial unrest across our state and country, the Black Freedom Fund was created to make sure that leaders and organizations working to support Black communities and build power have the resources they need to stay in the fight for the long haul. We believe that those closest to the issues impacting our communities know best how to solve them. That's why in just the last 5 years, we've granted more than $45 million to over 200 grassroots organizations across California. That is the largest collective investment in Black organizing in history. And we're just getting started. We are clear-eyed and committed, more now than ever, to our people, our power, and our possibility. Join us in creating a future where Black people harness their full power to shape their lives and realize a just world for all. Learn more at fundblackfreedom.org. That's fundblackfreedom.org. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis Smiley with a final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for Black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing. Racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County, Committee for the First Amendment, and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. We'll see you there.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. On Fridays, Fat Meat Fridays, Reflectivity with Gina Towns is our very special host, where we recap the entire week of our shows. But on this Wednesday, Wealthy Wednesdays, our very special contributing partner in this program is Dr. S. Todd Yeary. He's both a doctor, that is a PhD, and a reverend, as well as a lawyer. S. Todd Yeary is the principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as the senior pastor of Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Yeary is also the former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Coalition, an organization founded by my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. His social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network, that's Reverend Sharpton's organization, from 2015 to 2021. Past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP as co-founding principal of Community Churches for Community Development, and as founding principal of SALT, Strategic Advocacy and Legislative Think Tank. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
This has been a great thrill. Now I figure the setup is really on. We gonna
Dr. Yeary, wasn't it a blessing to be on the same program with Dr. Aubrey Hendricks. I mean, if there ever were holy ground, oh my goodness.
Listen, if there's anybody who gets it, he gets it, and gets it in a way that makes us uncomfortable enough to do something about it.
And that is really the truest blessing. He activates our faith. And for those of us who spend more time in our heads and spend a lot of our time in policy papers and arguing the case, I mean, he says, do something. The faith requires us to do something.
Right.
And there sits Aubrey Hendricks. I mean, with, Bonhoeffer in mind and Barth in mind and Niemöller in mind and Dr. King in mind and Malcolm and Martin and Cornell. I mean, come on now. Everything, Howard Thurman, it all comes together right there in The Politics of Jesus. You ought to get that book on Amazon.com. I forgot to ask Dr. Hendricks how it was that we could be supportive of his work, but just buy his book, The Politics of Jesus. You will never be the same again. Dr. Yuri, let me ask you this question. I read an article today where President Trump said that he is favoring now white refugees to come to the United States as he continues his war, not only on the poor, but on black and brown bodies. Your reaction to, wow, I can't believe I'm going to say this, more of the same?
Let me quote Childish Gambino. This is America. Let's not forget that. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, white refugees. Now let's think about that. White people seeking safety from whom? That then warrants them being able to come here. So this isn't white people running from other white people. This is the setup to say that white people in non-white dominated countries who don't like being, quote, the minority are now going to be under siege because what this president needs is population infusion. The fear has been too much dilution of white genetics by black and brown intrusion. And so let's get rid of, let's deport them and then give safe haven on a fast track, mind you, right? To the others, because the new push is that he needs white people to have more babies, right? This is nothing less than what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, now an ancestor peering over the balcony, has been saying to us before she made her transition. The fear of being genetically irrelevant is the biggest fear that I think is fueling some of this backlash right now.
So I keep hearing about these 2035, 2045, 2055 numbers when white people become a minority in the United States. And we keep hearing about it. It's just a sentence that is kind of often echoed. But, in this moment, I mean, it really is a reality that summarizes the entire experience.
So much so, we were sending the feed back and forth. So I listened to the oral argument today before the Supreme Court about Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. That addresses the notion of voter dilution by a unlawfully race affected gerrymander. And the argument basically was that political gerrymandering should not be challenged simply because there appears to be a disparate racial outcome. Because folks' political affiliations, if I'm a Republican and I want to dilute Democratic votes, even though the majority of Black folks have been voting Democratic going back to probably the mid 20th century, right? Kind of the shift from Republicanism as we start to see FDR and then later on the Great Society plan with Lyndon Johnson. That's kind of the shift. So they're saying, look, as long as we're doing it on the basis of we're Republicans, we don't like Democrats, so we can kind of draw what we want to draw, and you can't then hold us accountable for some unrelated racial defect in our analysis. Now, basically what they're saying is they're getting ready to set us up for the okie doke. Hear me when I tell you, because there were a whole bunch of justices out of the 9 saying okie doke in the hearing, basically saying, yeah, we kind of understand that if you're the minority and you say this has a non-racial objective, which is race neutral on its face, and therefore it is constitutional, then it shouldn't be challenged whether or not Black folk get to elect their preferred candidate or not. And there's a whole lot of sociology that goes along with it, right? The density of where Black folks live, a lot of it being controlled by illegal manipulation and redlining, access to capital limitations where you can only live in certain places, now has us vulnerable politically. And because those numbers, the numbers that we need in mass to be able to affect our political policy issues, just continues to come up short. We got a lot of work to do, and they are coming. This is not your imagination. Leave your TV alone. Just look out your window. And this time they got on pinstripe suits and Brogan shoes.
And the history of racial segregation in neighborhoods notwithstanding, they're coming anyway. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in the National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from Black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of Black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MAJOR25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special contributor in this hour is none other than Dr. S. Todd Urey, who has 1 foot in the pulpit and also 1 foot in the courtroom, but both feet in reality. So grateful that Dr. S. Todd Urey has joined us in his regular program on Wealthy Wednesdays, always the second hour. And our very special guest who joined us for a moment in the second hour, Dr. Aubrey Hendricks, maybe the preeminent African-American biblical theologian, scholar. He hates being called a theologian, but certainly a biblical scholar and well respected. Respected from one end of the United States to the other, respected in Christendom, and respected around the world, Dr. Aubrey Hendricks. When we have a moment with him, that is a major moment in time. Dr. Urey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always good to be with you on Wednesday, my brother. Always.
Dr. Urey, this is our final segment, and I know that I want a word of hope from you towards the end, because given the president's focus on white refugees and the Supreme Court's focus on ending and significantly gutting the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and what's taking place in our streets with ICE and federal agencies from Chicago to Los Angeles to New Orleans to you name it, we're definitely going to need a word of hope. But there are some issues that I can imagine that your mind has been focusing on that also matters on this so-called yellow brick road to the land of an Oz that we're trying to get to. Dr. Urey?
Well, the thing we remember about Oz, when you get to the end of the yellow brick road, you run into
Richard Pryor's there. Richard Pryor's there.
Huh?
Richard Pryor is there.
Richard Pryor was there. In the original version, the original version, you got this dude just like, you know how, let me tell you what's going on. It's like this one fly. You know, this fly should have been gone a long time ago. And this one fly has made its way into my office. And it can't find anywhere else to go except annoy the you-know-what out of me. But here's what we're going to do.
Or to the piece of watermelon that you're eating.
Listen. I thought I cleaned up those seeds. I guess not. Look, here's the deal. At the end of the yellow brick road is a dude on a screen who's trying to give a sense that which is detached and remote has a grip on reality. And so folks experiencing reality are talking to the dude on the screen. But for a rambunctious little puppy getting loose and pulling back the curtain, we would still be talking to the dude on the screen instead of recognizing that there's a guy behind the curtain pulling levers, controlling the conversation. Well, the guy behind the curtain pulling the levers, those are the elite economic interests who have this president in place to accomplish their bidding, with a vice president who has been mentored by one of the elites to be the one to keep a watch out and make sure he does exactly what he's supposed to do. So what does he do? He tries to entertain us with random pictures of blowing up, look like the same power boat every 7-8 days in the middle of some water somewhere. And then telling us, they bringing all these drugs. Now listen, I can see the size of that boat. I also know how much drugs are moving through our communities. If you're trying to tell me that little boat is bringing the drugs that y'all keep running through the hood, stop playing with me. Keep playing in my face, right? And so they're trying to give this sense that they are addressing the promises that they made, giving awards to folks who, they feel like should be honored. That's certainly their purview. But what they're really coming after is the infrastructure. And the infrastructure is the Constitution, particularly the post-Civil War amendments, 13, 14, and 15. And so when we consider that the Naturalization Act of 1790 established citizenship for white people, free whites, full stop, that this game that somehow or other, this fabric, this tapestry of hues and views is something that's been part of the mix from the beginning. That wasn't in the recipe. That was the secret ingredient that we had to bring. And so when they start bringing folk over and start saying, we got to rescue, think about this now. They're saying we got to, where on the planet do you think you have to go to rescue white people? I know a lot of white people, none of them wake up in the morning trying to figure out, I wonder what's going to happen to me today because I'm white. That's not a question they wrestle with. So where we are in this Wizard of Oz moment, we got Tin Man, we got Scarecrow, we got the Lion, we got Dorothy, we've got the little flying monkeys. All right, fine, we got all that. At the end of the day, the moral is click your heels. There's no place like home. If you lose a sense of who you are in your core identity, you'll be walking down that doggone yellow brick road forever. And you're not going to find Oz, you're not going to find the Wiz, and you certainly not going to find justice. And so we've got to reconnect with knowing who we are. Where is our home, where our heart drives us, the principles, the worldview, the values, the commitments, the ordering of the world that helps us to understand that we have a different rhythm. We have a different flow. And that's not because we're trying to put ourselves in a more superior position. We're just giving ourselves the right to be grounded in a sense, an affirming sense of who we are, so that now we can have a credible conversation around the issues of justice.
I don't know how to improve upon that. I think that is brilliantly stated. I think it is crystal clear. The mountain that we're going to climb, and this is just 1 year in, a little less than 1 year into a 4-year process. Dr. Yuri, I know we only have about a minute before we come forward, but I do want to say this and ask you this question. Your thoughts based on the preliminary resistance from the majority of justices on the Supreme Court in the Calais decision. Where is this going?
Well, they're coming for the Voting Rights Act, and we're going to have to figure it out. And we're going to have to go back and rethink how we leave ourselves vulnerable to party politics and make ourselves the determining factor in terms of the outcomes of elections and change the paradigm right now.
I don't disagree with that. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are made the more wealthier because of Dr. S. Todd Yeary and Dr. Aubrey Hendricks. More when we come forward tomorrow on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Look forward to seeing you then. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Broward County, Florida high schoolers can now use cell phones during